Welcome to our second Owl Poetry Open Mic at the Owl. I am your hostess, Terry Petz. And if you haven't signed up yet, please come and see me. I'm sitting there at the corner when I'm not up here on the stage. And I'd like to start with explaining how I started this grand idea of having an open mic here. My friend Kat Carey-Sage, who's sitting over there, led a group, and a bunch of us women got together monthly, and we would take turns in reading poetry. It could be our own, or it could be somebody else's poems, or it could be a collection of poems. And we enjoyed it so much that when it ended in June, I didn't want the whole poetry theme to end, and I started to think of ways of getting into poetry here in Lethbridge. And somebody suggested that I approach Steve here at the Owl, and I did. And we are going to have this as a monthly event from now on, every fourth Thursday of the month, as long as he puts up with us. So the group that Kat had was called A Poet's Word. And she is going to start some more groups, and there isn't just the Poet's Word. She has a whole bunch of other things going, and I'll let her explain what exactly she's doing. If you're interested in poetry or any form of art, come and see her, because her groups are wonderful. And actually, there's 4 of us sitting at the table. It seems like neither of us wanted to end it. Now, back to tonight. We are going to have 5 minutes for each poet to read whatever they're reading. They can choose whatever they want to read, but I ask you to keep it clean, because Ryan from Shaw TV is going to tape us and put it on Shaw TV, and I don't want him to have to use the beep because we're using inappropriate language. And it seemed like nobody wanted to start tonight, so I'll be the first one to read. And before I start reading, I'd like to explain something else. Last time, we chose to work with a sentence that everybody had to write in their poem. I hope poets who were here last time have done their homework. I don't want to give Fs to anybody. Fs are out tonight, right, Ryan? So what we needed to read or write about was anything that has one of the things I used to think was true in it. And I report, teacher, I did my homework. My first poem is called The Mystery of Adults. One of the things I used to think was true is that adults know everything. Everything. I used to ask them questions and expected appropriate answers. Sometimes all they said is, "Go away. Don't be a pest. I am busy." Some of them, like my Uncle Joe, had the patience to educate a curious, inquisitive little girl. And I soaked up his knowledge like a sponge. He had an educated answer to whatever I asked him about. If he didn't know something, he said, "Let's look that up." And so we did. He had many, many interesting books, and we liked looking at them for answers. I remember the excitement I felt going to his apartment and the awe I felt looking at his books. Years later, Uncle Joe and I talked, and he said, "I remember when you were a little girl, you wanted to know everything about life." I said, "Uncle Joe, I still do." One of the things I used to think was true is that when I finish school, I will know everything, and when I finish school, You could not tell me anything because I knew it all. Then, as the years went by, I started to realize there was so much to learn. The curious, inquisitive little girl has grown into a curious, inquisitive woman, and I will learn and learn and learn until the day I die. Thank you. The second I'm going to read is called The World Wide Web. Don't tell me what you had for dinner, and don't show me your expensive brand name clothes or accessories. I don't care about them. I don't care about your opinion of corrupt politicians or the dysfunctions in the world either. Tell me about the day you carried a friend home on your back because she broke her arm. Nobody made you a hero for it, but that is something I care about. I also want to know about the time you had enough of the burdens and hardships life presented you. You felt you just had enough and you can't take it anymore and were ready to scream, but something inside you stopped you from screaming, and calmness surrounded you. I want to hear how you reached calmness. I want to hear about the time you stopped cars on the street from driving over a little bird, confused on its maiden flight, moments after leaving its nest. Show me a picture of your elderly relative gleaming from joy because you visited him or her. That's what I want to see. And when you focus on the things that matter, and what you do makes your world a better place, no matter how small or big that world may be, then the web of the world will widen, and you can smile because you did what you had to do. Has anybody done the Excellence series? It's a wonderful personal development what is it, Neil? What would you call it, Neil? Workshops, seminars. And we've done the Pursuit of Excellence, and I wrote this next poem during the Pursuit of Excellence. And it's called The Gift. Kind words you spoke when your eyes met mine, and the memories of past faded into the misty sky. The unspoken messages we sent each other, trying hard not to cross the invisible line. The gentle touch on my tired shoulder as you worked through the tight, sore muscles. You touched something more, something deep in my soul, when you unraveled your gift and received mine in grace. When we felt our strength, when we felt our blessings, when we felt united by the excellence we never knew. Thank you.
Okay, this poem is called Wilted. This morning when I woke up, I noticed your absence. This was strange to me. It's been long enough. I've gotten used to having all this space of my own. By long enough, I mean that it's been 6 months since the last morning I woke up next to you. So this is also strange to me. Half a year to the day. Is this why my body feels unsettled? Are these growing pains? It's true it's been 6 months of pain that could be viewed as growth some of the time. The pain has shrunk. It's so small most days. On those days, I don't really notice the feeling. This one I woke up with. Today, I missed something, but it can't be you anymore, because I'm trying. No, I'm letting you go. And then I have one more, and it is called Surrounded. One day, even 6 months down the track, you'll be able to see all the people who surround, wrap around, and just love you for exactly where you are, right where you need to be. You'll remember, but look back at a time where you felt so alone. The love you had to give was drained, and all that was left was him. But now it's you again. But it's you, and it's them, your people. And you'll just have to laugh because of how alone you once felt.
Tonight I wanted to read the poem that came from the prompt from last time. One of the things I used to think was true. When I was 12, 13, I used to babysit not only my two little brothers, but for a family or two in the neighborhood. I remember thinking how powerful I was. For a small portion of time, no one was bossing me, watching me, bugging me, yelling at me, finding work for me to do. I was the one in charge for a small portion of time. I thought of all I could do if I wanted to. Eat all the cookies in the cupboards, play with makeup, as long as I wiped it all off before the mom and dad got home. Watch anything I wanted to on TV. Play the stereo really loud. And, oh yeah, the little kids, I could boss them. I could bug them. I could yell at them. I could poke them, pinch them, ignore them. I could laugh at them, pull their hair, shove them aside. I could even hit them hard, over and over again if I wanted to. Because they were little kids, right? They couldn't talk. They couldn't tell. Nobody would ever know. And they'd never remember it anyway, because isn't that what's great about little kids? Really little kids? To make up for their crying and their stink, you could do whatever you wanted to them. They'd never remember it. Now, I never did do any of those things, though I probably would have eaten all the cookies if there'd been any to eat. No makeup, no forbidden TV shows, no screaming stereo, no screaming children either. Because the one time I did hit my brother hard, I felt the slap too. I recognized the stinging red skin not only on him, but on me too. And I remembered all the times I'd been slapped since way before I could talk. All the times I'd been pinched, screamed at, and then ignored. And all the times it had been worse, way worse. I remembered. No, I watched little kid TV with my little kids. I read golden books and Disney stories. I read the illustrated Night Before Christmas all through the summers. I played Ring Around the Rosie, Peekaboo, and hide and seek, and ignored them only when they were happy to be ignoring me. You see, one of the things I used to believe was true is that it didn't matter what you did to little kids, because they'd never remember it anyway. That you couldn't call anything abuse until they were old enough to tell. And that if you worked it right, they'd never even call it abuse, because it was just ordinary life. Ordinary mom and dad. I wonder where I learned all that. When I babysat, when I could finally do unto others what had been done unto me, I didn't, because I remembered how bad it hurt. But you know, I never put that into words until I was in my 30s, working at a sexual assault center. I'd never put into words that I'd been taught by those who loved me that it didn't matter what you did to little kids, because they'd never remember it anyway. Oh, but it does matter. It really does matter what you do to and with all the little kids. And now you remember that. Thank you. About a year ago, I published a chapbook of my poetry. This one is called Sovereignty, and there's a painting that goes with it of a very large kind of tree bird woman with it, who looks very regal and very definitely her own. It's called Sovereignty. I am mine own. No one owns me. Though dear body remembers too many generations of domestic servitude, captivity. But now, here I am, full, beautiful, whole, kind, mine own. Bounded, but bounded with blessing. This far, no further. Go in peace. I will choose where to put my attention, how to spend my time, whom I will be with, and I do choose. I choose to share the treasure of pen and brush and needle. I choose to create beauty, to nurture liberty, for you are your own too. I choose to surrender to the greater love, to take my part in the greater mystery. Here I am. Thank you.
A lady was explaining to me all this thing about feminism and the abuse of women and so on, as if it was something new and different in the 21st century. So I thought I'd tell you about my mother, called Standing on the Roof and Crying Out. When my mother passed, there were no medals in her drawer, certificates on a wall, no recognition day, rallies in her name, or mention in the press, as I recall, of one lady's frontline time. She stood in the breach of civil war, bloody domestic war. A young bride in the post-war times defied its cultural code, started out life more ghettoized than most, rigid laws, fortress views, unwritten rules, all things by the book, all manners and shibboleths with nefas and their omerta code, which the gatekeepers of the law swore a sacred oath to uphold. In face of this, an act of reckless fact, they said, my mother, she broke the locks of this Pandora's box, now both beyond repair or redemption, walked out on the ridgepole, forgot her place, cried her plaintive case aloud. And her husband, he had laid among casinos dead, not right in the head, with his catastrophic rage, euphoric stage, in the growing darkness, closing blackness, descending sadness, the menace of his cutthroat on the stand, the cudgel close at hand, and the knucklers in his pocket pants. Back then the law was blind, turned an eye over kind with husbands, keeping wives in line. Barely on the map, this in the code, a misdemeanor, kept discreet, on a par with soccer on a Sunday street. But she stood her ground, quite profound, understood the cost to be exposed. You know, blame the victim, no support. Ends up in a welfare report, destined to grow dusty, thicker, growing mold. Her children growing old, cold hand to mouth in homeless hold. For chronic separators and women rising in their poverty.
My first poem is about a basic human emotion. It's called regret. You trail me like a mangy dog, sniffing after the scent of loss, waiting for the chance to lick my raw open wounds. You sort through my subconscious refuse, unearthing shame, drawn by the odor of guilt. Painful memories are tossed and fetched, splayed bare at my feet. Insatiable, you gnaw at my resolve, creating a constant ache of doubt and wondering, what if? Should I have? If only. I wish I had. I wish I hadn't. I wish. I wish. So I did my homework too, and this is called One Thing I Used to Know Was True. One thing I used to think was true was how babies came into the world. In my innocence, when I was about 4 years old, I postulated that girls were born with a certain number of baby seeds deep within her belly. Some girls had 2 baby seeds, some had 4, and like my mother who had 6 baby seeds, and other girls came into this world without any baby seeds at all. Once the girl grew up and married, the baby seeds would begin to grow. You see, after marriage, I surmised, when a woman would share her bed, the warmth of 2 bodies, cradled deep in slumber, would activate the necessary germination of these dormant baby seeds and produce a harvest of children. But then my theory was put to a test when our 17-year-old neighbor began growing a baby without being properly attached to a man. Perhaps it was all the candy she ate. Perhaps all that sugar accidentally kick-started one of her baby seeds. Now I know that excess sugar is more likely to induce diabetes than pregnancy. I used to think that boys were the enemy. At least that's what my mother told me. If a boy and a girl spend too much time alone, she would say, she will surely end up pregnant. Holding fast to my own theory, I decided my mother had no idea how things worked. I used to know my mother was always right, but now her seeming show of ignorance left me sadly disappointed. And now, after harvesting 2 children of my own, I understand how things work. I used to think that innocence and ignorance were 2 states of being to be avoided at all cost. But having spent time in both places, I now know they are just the base camp at the foot of the mountain of truth we must all climb. And as I climb this mountain, I know that what I know is true today may not be so tomorrow. Thank you. I'm just going to finish off with a silly little poem called 19 Dates. The first date spoke no English. The second date spoke no sense. The third spoke lies and garbage, so on to the 4th one hence. The 5th date had no money. The 6th date had no job. The 7th date was packing heat and working for the mob. Number 8 was very tardy, and 9 whined all night long. Number 10 was so close to family, he brought his mom along. 11 had a foot fetish, and 12 had foot in mouth. 13 was just plain unlucky. I decided he'd go south. Date 14 and 15 were twin brothers, co-joined at the hips. But when it came to romance, there were far too many lips. 16 was sweet, but oh so young. 17, so old. 18 was on life support. I knew he'd soon be cold. Date 19 mouthed, "I love you," as he gazed into a mirror. He confessed he was a narcissist. That was more than clear. And as I reviewed all those dates that numbered just under 20, I must admit for a single weekend, 19 dates was plenty. Thank you.
Well, this one's called Dreamer Boy, and I accidentally did my homework. He was a boy with a dream that everything beautiful in the world would remain. Nothing good would change. But, as said by Uncle Sage, the only thing that stays the same is change. The whirlwinds rage and wars we wage, and a dreamer boy takes the stage. With spirit, untried but true, he cares less for self, far more for you. He calls out for measurement, for the lesser's essay. Triumphant he will stay, beyond agony and pain. Optimistic he shall remain. For what can shake this undying faith? Who can annul his reign? Laughter billows in his shame, and a dreamer boy hides from fame. Still accompanied by a faith, just silenced, as if shackle-bound in chains. Plagued by laziness, blamed on prescribed sickness. But what else could it be? Medicated with no participation until a grand realization, an inner pronunciation. A lack of conviction is held to blame. And with this, an understanding. Not everything written is to be read, but everything undeniably observed as truth is to be recognized and brought forth as a passing of knowledge done with good intent and care. Thus, the momentous web is spread. Everything heard is supposed to be, just as everything said. Open your ears, it's there, both sides. It's down beside a dreamer boy's bed, and it said, "Come on down to the basement. It's laced with the tastiest grace, with a hint of complacence, and hiss went the tongue of the beast, perched neat on his leaf, pleasure in his deceit. But a dreamer boy's too smart. He would contest that quickly. Nothing so great could ever come so swiftly. Patience, my friend. Act with kindness and good intent. And a dreamer boy will rise again and again and again. For what is a boy to do when another dream falls? Dream on, boy. Dream on."
I moved to Lethbridge from Calgary, where I moved to from Serbia, and I come to Lethbridge and I find a compatriot, I guess. This first one is called Lady Gaga, and it's homage to Lady Gaga, but it's also homage to one of her poems. First to generate, then to recreate, to devise, and then exercise. Practice would indeed make it perfect if I practiced every day, which I don't, so I improvise. Then to carefully choose the outfit, the jewelry, the makeup, and in certain cases, the hairpiece. Props are optional. Glitter is mandatory. To show up bold, to be ready, just enough, and to step on stage. From the front or from the back, it doesn't matter. The climax is guaranteed either way. Did you know that I'm an extremist? I'm an extreme extrovert, double X. And I get extremely excited when I am exposed, triple X. Oh, I get nervous. If I were not nervous, it would mean I do not care. And I do care, for your pleasure as much as mine. Every intercourse is an exchange. You get to touch, feel, and see the whole of the outside and the inside me. I get to feast on your energy. Your finger snaps create magic powder that peppers my desire, the spice for the vice. Your laughter is the fuel that feeds the fire pit in my thorax, the coal for the soul. Your clap starts the thunder that shocks me to the core and takes me over the edge. The ovation births the exuberation. Your satiety is the purpose. Your feedback is the cause. 'Cause just like Lady Gaga, I live for the applause. This last one is, I wrote it since I came here, so actually in the last week, so it's motivated by the events that happened in Lethbridge. It's called Something's Worth. All I know is that I don't know anything. I have mistaken. I have fallen. I have got up and I have slipped again. I fought and I lost. I fought and I won. All I know is that nothing is certain. I trusted and I was betrayed. I was entrusted and I disappointed. I placed the bets and I ended up broke. I placed the bets and I became rich. All I know is that I'm worth something. I stand beside skinny, young, big-breasted blondes and I feel like a piece of... I stand beside those who have no words, no wits, no grit, and I feel like a goddess. I give and it is taken for granted. I give and receive tenfold. All I know is that I will try again. I will open my arms widely and the arrow will hit me straight through the cardiac muscle. I will wrap my arms around me tightly and your fingers will wiggle their way through to my ribcage. All I know is that I want you to be the one who will inflict my next wound. Thank you very much.
The scorn in your eyes, your permanent lies, you calling me a dink? Well, it's better when I drink. Your face in the bar, dead eyes like tar. Your breath stinks, but it's better when I drink. Look at my account. Hey, that doesn't look sound. Somebody must have stolen my PIN. Ah, it's better when I drink. Your comment online, shared by 1,009, more heard, I never been. Well, it's better when I drink. Me reciting this poem you find terribly long, I give you a hint. It's better when you drink. Ah, you're laughing me out now, shameless and loud. Then you turn on your grin. Ah, it's better when I drink. These empty walls throw my glare back at me, so I tell my shrink, it's better when I drink. My last friend is gone, followed a job or a woman. You see, these are the things that are not better when I drink. The coaster. When the sailing coaster landed before me, I woke up from a poem I was writing, couldn't you see? In a cafe, I wasn't ready for a good comeback. A ballpen smiley smiled back at me with a "Can you smile?" written underneath. I looked up and I saw you crossing the street. You waved at me and I waved back. We even smiled at each other, I can't forget, but I stayed put and your friend pulled you away. If I only had known what I know now, I would have left my coffee and my poem too. I'd run after you and talk to you. I would say something like, see, I can smile. I smile for you all the time if you can only stay a while, and I would invite your frowning friend for a coffee too. We had something in common, I think, maybe even more, and now I wonder what I was waiting for watching you disappearing this afternoon. You look over the shoulder, your black coat, the coaster in my hand, oh, I don't know how often I see this fleeting moment go. Your sailing, smiling coaster is in best company now in a shoebox tucked away with an earring and letters and sand from a sea. I forgot the poem I was writing. It wasn't good anyway. I gave up the hope of seeing you again, but I'll never forget this one day. And you were right about me, not smiling enough. So since then, I smiled a lot more than ever before to make up for the one day where I blew it all. Oh, thank you, thank you. It's a new fashion. I sat in a nameless bar in the middle of Cologne. Somewhere my pub crawl had led me on my own, and I said, wait, I want to have one more beer. It's not too late. I like it here. Then I had to run for my train, holding my beer, but all I could see were the lights, how they disappear, and she said, wait. And I turned around to her. It's not too late. If you say so, my dear. And we shared a six-pack in the park and her last cigarette. I wasn't sure and I didn't care where this may lead. And she said, wait, I have more ciggies at home. It's not too late. We could also smoke. We were sitting on the floor, laughing tears, coughing tar. This was the best damn broccoli for sure I've had in days by far. And she said, wait, I'll be back in a sec. It's a little late, you know, I get ready for bed. The bathroom door slammed shut. My mouth got dry. I wondered, why would this happen to me? Why? Wait. Hey you, yeah, wake up. It's way too late, yelled a man from atop. The security dragged me from the platform and onto the street. Hey, bums like you should get a job, get back on their feet. And I said to myself, wait, maybe that beep is right. It's not too late. So I started a fight, and I should have known better, but I do know with the broken glasses and the nose. I swear this was the last pub crawl I made on my own, and a little voice said, wait, it was fine until that fight. It's not too late. One more beer will be all right. One of the things I used to think was truth or dare was our game. I saw you on the downtown train, but I didn't see your smile. The world was open before you, girl. We could have made it way back then. We sat together being sure we could be more than friends. But first you chose a job, then you chose him over me, and now I'm choosing this poem to tell you what I think. I'm not saying I did it all right. Nah, I could have been a little less shy. At least I think it's not too late, but I read nothing in your face. When our eyes met in that train, when your eyes missed your boyfriends, your love must be a mess between nothing and nothingness. Okay, never mind your work in the bank, let alone your boyfriend. Forget all these wasted years. Let's do what was once so near. Let's have a coffee, or two, just between me and you. Let's catch up, and then all I want to see are your laugh lines again. Thank you.
The title of my poem is Beyond the Facade. One of the things I used to think was true was not being able to understand the suffering felt by you. Diagnosed with something that I do not have, making it hard to comprehend and relate. Some days you feel choked, smothered and confined, finding it relentless, never to abate. Yet you show the world this perpetual facade, a cheerful smile so beautiful, and they believe you are happy, too absorbed in their own lives, unable to see the pain in the depth of your eye. Oblivious to how down you are, a feeling that is out of your control. Even when you ache to be happy from the inside out, I see the tinge of red, you hiding the countless times you cry. And when you go out of your way to open up and share that you suffer depression, there are those that are there derisive, mocking you and tearing you down. They repeatedly tell you that everyone gets sad. Shrug it off and smile. They force you to shut the world out, bending you to drop your brow, skewing your crown. How can you ever step past those moments so low when others leave you alone, beaten to the ground that's tear-stained when you cry? When what you need is someone to elevate you, to help lift you up, dust off your wings and allow you to touch the sky. Support is needed. Even a small act of care and kindness, the simple notion, can resonate inside, sending many a propagating wave into motion. I see you amongst the crowd, that facade, that sad mask of a smile you wear to conform, having to regulate to follow the social obligations expected of the norm. If you wish to continue with this facade, who am I to unmask you, leaving you bare for others to pick at bit by bit? Would that not be a regression of your state, pulling you down further? Would I not then be a hypocrite? I cannot even begin to walk in your shoes, and so I have no right to tell you what to do. But I can walk beside you for all the ups and the downs, travel the same distance that your shoes do. Don't you ever feel alone? Don't you ever put up with those that think less of you just because of you being you? Continue to be you. Be true to you. Toss those aside that make your days dark. Remove those from your life that choose to preach and bark. Fill your life with love and with those that can elevate you, because altitude can by its very nature also improve one's outlook and attitude. And when elevated, no facade or mask need be around, because the warmth and happiness will radiate out. A smile from the depth of your eyes will abound. Do not let depression confine and define you. You are a bud that is yet to bloom. You may be weathered, but your roots are deep, and your future growth has plenty of room. Do not live in the past, else your present will cease. Do not stop, else you will age. Step forward beyond what drags you down. Go forth and rage. Dylan Thomas himself once said, do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. So let your mindset be key to break forth from the chains of monotony and tear down the iron bars that confine you, the cage of melancholy. So I end with this. As one of the things I used to think was true was not being able to understand the suffering felt by you. But I am a fool. I was not meant to comprehend and understand. All you needed and wanted was for me to be there, listen, and hold your hand. Thank you, everybody.
I was standing at the bar. I was enjoying a little buzz. She said something about a poem. I can't remember what it was. I'm going to have another cold one and try hard to pay attention. This ADD's a bitch. Oh, that's what I forgot to mention. If she asks, I know exactly what I'm going to say. I had that baby ready to be framed, and the damn wind blew it away. 1885. I signed on at the CY Ranch breaking horses for Jim and Betty Walsh. They had a daughter. She was simple-minded. I'd see her in the morning gathering eggs for breakfast and again in the afternoon on the porch swing. As Jim's interest in politics consumed much of his time, over the summer my chore list grew. My hands now calloused. All I could think about was you. To make matters worse, I developed a hitch in my stride and I couldn't stand for much more. My mind grew weary and my back some sore. I saddled my old cayuse and I bust for town. I took my place at the bar, but it really wasn't where it was at. A homo, an old woman, just the kind I usually attract. I was about to give in when she walked in. I knew in that very moment that the Lord had finally blessed me with true love. I was about to introduce myself and she said, "Mister, I ain't looking for no trouble, just my black leather glove."
To play some Russian roulette. Somebody give me left or right? Okay. Okay, somebody give me a page number 12. Okay, I'm going to read page number 12. It's a bit personal, but I'll share it with you. It's called Farewell, and it's in memory of Joe Pector, who was my ex-husband's grandfather. And when he died, I wrote this poem. When my sun goes down, it will reflect my life. My mind will wonder if I completed my mission this time. My heart will wonder if it was good. My feet will wonder if they walked the miles. When my moon comes up, I will shine on top of the water. I will be the light of peace. I will dive into the ocean of abundant love, and I will see the light. When my sun goes down, it will reflect my life.
This is called overwhelmed. It's a word I made up. It's a combination of being overwhelmed, but also you're overwhelmed because you just have so much good stuff going on. Overwhelmed. It's useful. In a parched land, I looked for water, and oh, it poured forth. Have you ever tried to drink from a fire hose? Too much. So grateful, but overwhelmed. Such wealth, such overwhelmed. Sometimes I like to sit under the waterfall, but other times I like to let the water collect and settle. And then I dive deep into the lake, where I examine things slowly, witness, appreciate. I am a woman between the worlds of everyday frazzle and deep knowing. I can't do everything. Not supposed to. It keeps me humble, close to the hummus of dear body, close to who I really am. This earth has asked for water, and we pour forth, but never, ever call us too much. We are riches, treasure, and abundance, just what the earth needs now. Thank you.
Hi, it seems everyone was looking for more poems, so I do have one last poem. I wrote this quite a couple of years ago, so please excuse the idealistic behavior of a 16-year-old boy. The title of the poem is A Beautiful Discovery. In my life, I was so lonely, something was completely amiss. So on a great journey, I trekked in search of bliss. I have searched boldly every single star. I have searched high, low, and beyond afar. I have searched through raging desert and endless blue sea. I have missed not a grain in search. I have walked on countless keys. My search was grueling, arduous, and long at times it seemed. But it has passed now, but not forgotten. It simply has been. I no longer feel lonely or unhappy at all, with that horrifying sense of wanting to fall. My tiring journey has achieved my grand goal. A female, pure at heart and with a golden soul. She is an indefinable beauty by which no equal being exists to compare. She radiates with an aura of hope, happiness, not bitterness or despair. She is unlike any other I have ever encountered or met. When staring at her vibrant face, I can see the beauty of a sunset. I hold her close, I hold her tight, and her nurturing warmth is like no other. She is a sweet, tender fruit grown by nature's mother. Her eyes are a blue that resembles the sky, filled with a deep, deep life. Her name is written on my heart, engraved by that of love's knife. I have expressed how I feel for her many a time. I write with compassion and heart to give life to this rhyme. My journey has served me well, for I found her in her splendor. She must now know that my caring for her is honest, true, and tender. Thank you.
The winter of '67. It was a long, cold winter. I cashed in my bounty and hung up my old gun. I placed a rocking chair next to the fireplace and proceeded to wait for the sun. I thought about that place where we used to meet behind the old church back over on Dover Street. I could still see her standing there in a white sundress, tan bare feet, and yellow ribbon in her hair. I can still taste the soda pop on her tongue. I wanted to love her, but she was much too young. I ordered a whiskey sour and continued to wait for the sun. She said we could be happy on the other side of life if I'd only take her by the hand and make her my wife. I wanted to love her, but she was much too young. I ordered another whiskey and continued waiting for the sun. I saddled my old cayuse and I placed her locket in my run. I left her that morning before the rising sun. They say she passed that fall at the tender age of 21. In her left hand, a bouquet of daisies. And in her right, my old gun. So leave the bottle, mister. Can't you see? I'm just waiting for the sun.
Duplicitous darling, you are sugar and poison, raging and screaming for all of my attention, like an evil child, wild, untamed, selfish, wanting, teasing, taunting. You manipulate others, looking for a mother to appease you. Willful, destructive, sweet and seductive, malevolent Pac-Man, devouring kindness, preferring blindness, choosing to be weak and infantile. Emotional runt, refusing to grow, you are stunted, rooted in chaos, spoiled and rotten. You've chosen and gotten your lot. Is this what you want, to be sugar and poison, drawing me into your sin of destruction? Corruption or kisses, your sinister shell game. I never know what I will get.
This one is not unlike Sonia's previous poem. That's why I wanted to read it. It's called The One I Loved the Most. Over the years, I've had them many. Blonde, red-headed, nearly white. Pale tan, brown, black. I was initiated by a pasty-faced German. All proper, always by the book. What was predictable then became boring. He gave less than what he took. Onwards, I moved to a red-headed Irish. That one was warm, passionate, fun. Each time we met, it felt different. For the money I spent on them, I got a lot of run. The really strong ones exhausted me quickly. They'd put me to sleep fast. But they were demanding, controlling, snappy. It wasn't meant to last. Oh, the youngster from Saskatoon. Too bad I couldn't stay. Salty skin, citrusy breath. Playful, unique. That's the one that got away. One smelled of smoke, loner, dark, quiet. Complex and mysterious. Attractive and scary at the same time. I couldn't commit, get serious. The black one was unpredictable. They could go both ways. Challenged my values, my patience, my faith. The sexiest of them all, polyamorous. His elusiveness I couldn't take. One was so bitter, took time to understand. They were an acquired taste. Certainly exciting, they left me wondering whether my energy would go to waste. Many were generic, lack of character. Same cap, identical outfit, impotent yet loud. If I came across one of them again, I couldn't pick them from the crowd. Some kept me up all night, euphoric. Others with little to do. Over the years, I've had them many, and then I discovered you. From the moment I laid my eyes on your strong body, inhaled your fragrant molecules, tasted your thickness with my tongue, I knew that all I wanted to do is to stay faithful to you. Because you, my dear, are the tastiest beer I have ever experienced. Thank you.
I think this is all for tonight, folks. Tonight was sponsored by Works of Beauty Photography and Videography. Check it out online. If you haven't liked our Lethbridge Poetry on Facebook yet, please like us, give us a thumbs up. And if you write poems, we'd love to see it there. Once you post a poem, it has to be approved by me before you can see it. and we'd love to see you next time.